After our first fill and use of the default sprayer, it's time to see what the second pump looks like. So I'm going to loosen up the hatch, as we call it here. Kind of a star pattern because there's a gasket underneath that we'll want to preserve. Loosen up my vents a little just in case there's any vacuum in the space. Handy storage spot built into the booter, apparently. And we'll get a look at the hose and arrangement for the standard pump so you can visualize what tipping it back and when we got that extra water out, what it looks like when you're emptying it. Got that free now. Oh, and the hose came off. Well, it looks like we had a clamp that wasn't entirely tight. Fiddling. Pump just barely fits, so it takes a little maneuvering, a little kinking of the hose, and this is what the stock pump looks like. So when it's laying in the wooter, it's an orientation like that with the bottom drying up liquid, so it can drain down when you tip it back to, oh, we think less than half a gallon. So I'll have a look at that clamp when we're ready to reinstall. We'll look at that getting back together. And I left the sprayer on just so it's not falling around on my floor. And we do want to see that this gasket is kept in place. I don't want debris on it. That is the seal that keeps water in when the hatch is installed. This is our replacement hatch. This brass fitting goes in with 2 O-rings. I'm going to leave that out for now while I loosely install the plates. This kink should relax a little, but that is the way this will go in with a weighted inlet so that it should stay to the back of the tank. A lot less fidgeting because there's no large diameter pump on the end of that. I didn't tighten that down. I just want to hold it in place while I get the rest of the countersunk screws in. inboard side are countersunk, and so you'll want to reuse countersunk from the old plate. I'm not tightening these down yet. I'm just being sure there's a little grip on that. Okay. Now, 3 of these go through the mount plate, and so they've shipped for the bracket mount 3 longer button head. Which is one of the reasons I wanted that plate gently secured. Wish I had a metric long reach Allen here, but not much to be done about that. Okay, so you can see it's still a little loose. I just wanted to be sure everything had started on the threads. And now I'll do kind of a star pattern to tighten things down. Remember, we want that gasket compressed but not crushed, so firm, but you don't want to strip it, and we don't want to crush that gasket out. And with the pump came 2 different lengths. When I did a test of this, what I found was the shorter ones are better for the pump mounting to the bracket, and the longer ones are fine to go through the bracket into the hatch and tie into the wooter. So the shorter one has a washer and a split lock, and so 4 of those are prepped for when I get to that. And then they're in the package, but don't know if they're entirely necessary. I'll do the same with the washers on these. I haven't tightened the others down yet, the countersunks. Countersinks? Countersacks? I don't know. What's the plural of countersink? Challenging thoughts for Sunday. And of course I'll drop that while I'm doing this on camera. Still leaving a little play. I just want to know everything's threaded without crossing and lining up. Okay. Do kind of a star pattern here. So we want to evenly compress, but we don't want to crush the gasket that we talked about in there. Okay, on to the next. So the Seaflo pump in the package has a rather clever / interesting design for how the fittings go in. First, you've got to extricate their protective rubber stopper. Little grabby tabs. I take the tip of a screwdriver, and we're going to be going in this orientation. So the double O-rings will go into the wooter. The single O-ring has a cutout that fits this trap. Okay. Pull the clip back and it'll come out. That track intersects with the plastic. Okay, so that's what our pump will be doing. Remove the high-tech retention mechanism and free our power cable. And so we are going to drop that in there and then start putting our hardware on. And you might initially have a little bit of will it set, but there's a little play here. I did test. There's rubber. They're noise dampening feet. And so the little fiddling, I've got that one in. I didn't tighten it. Just helps me get the others aligned. And that one was a bit easier. Gently, gently. And again, I have a washer to protect the pump with split locks so that under vibration it shouldn't free itself by accident. These will be a little tricky because I have a short Allen head. Because the other two were already in. That was pretty easy. We'll see about this one. This is the challenge. Clumsy old man hands. And I dropped it. Let's see if I can get a better angle. Now, they're rubber grommets, and so if you tighten too much, you're really just squishing the grommet out the sides. And so eyeball a little compression. The threads are all the way through. Feel enough resistance and see enough threads out that you know it's in. This is a challenge on this last one, but at least this is not a swap off in situation. There we go. And I can feel it's threading easily in. It is not binding. And I'm going to eyeball about the same number of threads out the other side.